Hey guys, it's Saria. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I made this set of Genie inspired Mickey ears. I think these are kind of unique and a little bit odd, but cute in their own right. So let's jump into it. So starting out with cardboard, we're going to be using the smallest ear template linked down below called the foam and batting template, and I'm going to be tracing this on the cardboard 4 times and cutting that out using an Xacto knife. After cutting out all of the cardboard pieces, I'm going to move on to a sheet of felt, and I'm going to be using the largest ear tracing template, which is called the ear cutting line template, and I'm going to trace that onto a piece of felt 4 times and then cut those out as well. The last thing that we're going to cut out is this gold shimmery fabric. I'm going to be cutting 4 of these as well using that same ear cutting line template that we used on the felt. So same thing as before, just trace 4 of these and then cut them out. Definitely think about the stretch of your fabric because sometimes these satin types of fabrics don't have any type of pull. So it can be a good idea to kind of overcut your line and just give yourself a little bit of extra fabric to work with. Now, before moving on to this step, I do suggest watching this tutorial all the way through because I did end up changing what I thought I was going to do about halfway in. So you can see here I'm attaching the felt to the cardboard using hot glue and just folding over the edge of the felt and tapping it down into the glue. We are going to be cutting a hole into one of these little ears, so you can do this step for the other 3. But I don't want you guys to get ahead before you've seen kind of the steps so that you don't end up doing what I had to do, which was cut a hole through the felt as well. But if you're working on not the ears that you can see the Genie through, then you're okay to do this step. I do cut down the center of the bottom portion of the felt before I fold it over. I find that this helps limit the amount of wrinkles and puckers in the felt. Now for one side of my ears, I decided to add the phrase phenomenal cosmic power, itty bitty living space, because these ears were for Year of the Ear and the theme was Home Sweet Home. So this was my sarcastic way of theming these to Home Sweet Home for the Genie. So here you can see I'm just weeding my heat transfer vinyl and then I went ahead and heat pressed that onto the satin fabric. I did test out my heat temperature and stuff before heat pressing. Just to make sure I didn't burn the fabric or anything. And then I'm going to be attaching this to a felt covered ear. So I've done the felt layer already and next I'm going to be doing that satin fabric. And here you can see how hard it is to kind of attach this satin fabric because I didn't give myself anything extra to work with. And I burned my finger so bad as you just saw that ear go flying. So definitely work in small sections. And again, if you can kind of overcut your fabric a little bit, it'll definitely make this part easier on you. So just using a little bit of hot glue and then folding over the fabric and tapping it down into the hot glue. For the bottom portion of the ear, I did cut it in half again. Again, with this satin fabric, it's really easy to create puckers and wrinkles that don't look very nice. So this definitely helps limit that likelihood. If you can see here, this came out really nice and smooth. I already had gone ahead and made the backing of this ear, so I'm going to be gluing the 2 pieces together to create one whole ear. So just applying a pretty liberal amount of hot glue to the center, I'm going to firmly press down on this and make sure that it's fully dry. The ear will feel really warm to the touch until that glue cools, and then at that point you'll know that it's nice and dry. The other ear is where we're going to see Genie kind of poking out from the inside of the ear, and this did take a couple tries. So this is what I landed on, where I cut out one of the Genies and then I traced him onto my ear, and then I had to cut this hole into the ear. Now as you can see, it's a little bit too big. If I cut that, I'm just going to destroy the ear, so I had to kind of undercut what I had traced. So doing a cross first and then going in and curving my edges, that's kind of how I achieved this. But I will tell you guys, I wish that I had cut this first and then done the felt layer. I think that it would have came out a little bit nicer and I could have created a better rounded edge. You can see here I'm folding over that felt and then hot gluing it in place. But if I was doing this from the beginning, then I definitely would have cut the felt into a few extra strips. It would have given me a nicer edge, and you can see here I kind of nicked the felt, so I'm bandaging it back together with hot glue, and then seeing how the Genie kind of looks. I did end up cutting out a different Genie because I thought that he was too large for what I was doing, so I cut out one of these smaller ones instead. So next I'm going to move on to attaching the satin fabric, and my satin fabric looks super crazy right now because I actually detached this from the ear because my original method did not work. So this is me reattaching the satin fabric, and just kind of trimming off excess and trying to make it work the best I can. It does come out good in the end, but this was definitely a little bit tricky. So adding hot glue and then doing that same method of folding it over and tapping it down into the hot glue. And then the center portion, I'm just going to be really, really careful with, but I am going to cut that center portion open and then glue that down as well. So the only thing that I will warn you guys about is if you pick a really satiny fabric, it does fray like crazy. So you have to be really careful never to pull at any strings or tug on the fabric too hard because it does unravel like right before your eyes. So if you are using a satiny fabric, just be really careful with any loose threads, especially on this portion where you're cutting out the center. The little tool I'm using is from Dollar Tree. It's just a little rotary blade and it's miniature, which makes it really nice for projects like this. And definitely easier than using scissors. And again, it's from Dollar Tree. It was $1.25. So I'm going to be peeling my fabric back and just kind of tapping it down into the hot glue very carefully. And then I'm just kind of pulling on the cardboard and kind of tugging at it to give it more of a rounded opening as opposed to more of a diamond shaped that it was starting to become. And then using a lighter, I'm going to burn off the edges of any loose strands or strings so that I have a nice clean finished ear. I trimmed down my Genie just a little bit more, and I'm going to be attaching him using Mod Podge to create more of a protected sealant on obviously this paper. So I'm just double checking his placement, making sure I've got him in the right spot, and then using some glue dots, I'm just going to use a dot or two to attach him down to the inside of this ear. And then using Mod Podge, I will attach the rest of him. And also I'm going to be coating him in 3 layers of Mod Podge. So I do the first coat with the brush, and then after I allowed that to dry, I did 2 more coats, dabbing my finger into the Mod Podge and smoothing it all over. After the Mod Podge had completely dried, then I'm going in with hot glue, and you definitely want to take your time with this and be careful because you don't want a bunch of hot glue getting onto the picture of the Genie. So you just want enough to firmly be able to attach these ears together. Once that is done, I'm going to go in and add the trim onto both of my ears. I'm going to be using this gold trim that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. It's so pretty and ornate, and I liked how it looked with the simplicity of the rest of the ear. So I'm just using hot glue in the crack of if that makes sense, the crack of the ear, and then I'm tapping down my trim gently. I will snip off the edges with some scissors and then use a lighter to burn the edges. That helps seal it to make sure that it doesn't fray. And now that both ears are done, I'm going to start hot gluing those onto my headband. I like to use this ear spacing template. I do have this linked down below for you guys if you need it, but I just apply hot glue to the bottom of the ear and then firmly press it down onto the headband to allow that glue to set, and I hold it in place until I've given it enough time. Which is usually around 30 seconds. Then I found this little Genie's lamp charm in my kids' toys, and I took it and I added it to these ears. I just thought it gave it a nice little extra touch. I won't be adding a bow to these because the person that I sent them to prefers their ears without bows, but I definitely think you could add one if you wanted to. And that was the final step in creating these Genie-inspired magic lamp ears. I hope you guys liked this tutorial. They're definitely a unique set. You guys are going to have to let me know what you think down below. And if you did make it all the way through to the end of this tutorial, then please leave me a Genie emoji in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!